Huh! I wonder what I shall do today. Huh. Just what I've been waiting for. Thanks, Kirby. Wow, would you look at that? It's Kirby Manga Mania Volume 6! This is the latest volume in the Kirby Manga Mania series, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you on it. It's another fun addition to this series with tons of wacky adventures and mishaps, many of which are very off-brand for the Kirby series, which is fun to see. So now we're going to go chapter by chapter and discuss Volume 6 of Kirby Manga Mania. Chapter 1, King Dedede's Secret. This one starts with Kirby going along on his warp star, and he then spies King Dedede doing something incredibly suspicious and goes to investigate, and it appears to Kirby that King Dedede is burying the remains of a corpse. So that's yet another boundary-pushing introduction to a chapter in the Kirby Manga Mania. The next morning, Kirby is incredibly suspicious of King Dedede, which is, justifiable. And Kirby is just mighty scared of the king until he finally reveals that he knows what King Dedede has done last night. He saw him in the act. King Dedede reveals that it was not actually remains of a corpse, but in fact a mattress that he on, which, frankly, is worse. Chapter 2, Taking a Trip. Take Kirby. King Dedede has just received 2 tickets to go on a hot springs vacation, which he is very enthused about, but he has to figure out who to invite. And of course, Kirby puts himself forth as the primary candidate. King Dedede is not excited by this idea, and so does everything he can to avoid this. However, Kirby is being very stubborn and starts a campaign to get himself on the vacation, including speeches and books and suspicious text messages. At the end of the day, King Dedede just decides to bring Poppy Brothers Jr., which is of course not what Kirby wanted. So Kirby goes undercover as the host of the inn, which does not fool the king. The joke is that Kirby has actually gone on the vacation anyway, because now he's undercover at the inn. There you go, guys. That's it. The end. Chapter 3. Somebody Stop Kirby. Kirby is going at an extremely high velocity and cannot be stopped, and that's the main conflict of the chapter, is the various attempts to stop Kirby in his tracks before catastrophic damage is caused. King Dedede sacrifices himself to stop Kirby. The issue is now King Dedede is on a mad rampage of speed and cannot be halted, but Kirby doesn't really care because he has some delicious apples to chomp on. Chapter 4. Kirby Stops Eating. In this one, Kirby is going on a hunger strike, and his goal is to stop eating for 1 week. It's a lofty goal for a fellow such as Kirby, who's obsessed with food, so that's where the main conflict arises. And he does end up making it. He gets a bit loopy by the end from the lack of nutrition. Kirby then reveals that the reason he's been fasting is because there's a local restaurant which is having an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he wanted to make sure his stomach was empty before going to the buffet, which Chapter 5. Do you like compliments? I like the cover of this because it's a little meta. You have the Kirby Manga Mania sales chart, and Kirby is presenting the sales stats. It's not totally related to the content of the chapter, but I do find it amusing. This one starts with Kirby complimenting King Dedede on his positive attributes, and of course, in order to do that, he makes some exaggerations. But of course, Kirby isn't doing this altruistically. It's because he has broken the king's window with a soccer ball, and he wants the king to forgive him, which does end up working. However, King Dedede is now addicted to compliments, and so goes after Kirby to get more of them. Eventually, King Dedede shows up while Kirby is sleeping, and Kirby snaps at him and insults him pretty harshly, which King Dedede then becomes addicted to. So that is the resolution. Chapter 6, A Picnic with Adeline, and for this one we have a nice commemorative 30th anniversary picture, which is quite nice. So Adeline has made some rice balls for her and Kirby to enjoy in a sort of picnic, and so she leaves them with Kirby because she needs to go get some drinks. However, in the interim, all of the rice balls are eaten by Kirby's pals and the other residents of Dreamland, who are just very rude and just kind of grab them and go. Unfortunately, Kirby gets the blame for this by Adeline, which makes him quite sad, but he is able to learn from the experience because it felt nice to give rice balls to other people. So it was a moment of character development for Kirby, which is rare in this series. Chapter 7, Kirby's Doting Parent Diary. This chapter features Dynablade, who is, if I must say, slightly off model, but even still, it's cool to see that character return in a manga. Kirby and friends are flying around in a tornado, and they end up accidentally stealing Dynablade's eggs, and so Kirby decides to raise them as his own. They hatch, and Kirby teaches them all he knows, which is how to eat and how to puff yourself up to fly. And then Dynablade finally returns, and Kirby is forced to give the chicks back, which he is saddened by. And as it turns out, Dynablade's chicks have learned several bad habits from being raised by Kirby, which is not surprising. We also get a few author notes throughout this manga as well, as have been in the previous mangas. And we get some nice rough illustrations of Adeline and how the manga artists chooses to draw her, which is cool. Chapter 8, Disaster. A get-well visit from Kirby. King Dedede has had his appendix removed, and so Kirby and his pals decide to go pay him a visit while he is recovering in the hospital. I really like Gooey in this chapter. He's quite an effective comic relief character, and his just deadpan stare is extremely amusing to me. Kirby and Gooey have various slapstick hijinks, which causes King Dedede to laugh profusely. In the end, his wound reopens from laughing so hard, and he is forced to stay at the hospital for an additional week, so Kirby has succeeded in once again causing great physical harm to King Dedede, as is often the case. Chapter 9, Ninja Kirby. Kirby and King Dedede are elite ninjas in this chapter, and they go around Dreamland doing ninja-related activities. They decide to infiltrate a castle to get a secret scroll to unlock a hidden ninja technique. Kirby is not especially effective at staying hidden, and so does not make for a very good ninja. However, the team prevails and gets the scroll, which it turns out is sheet music, and Kirby sings, which causes great harm, and I guess that was the secret ninja technique, was this horrible song that causes physical pain to all who hear it. Chapter 10, Who's Happier? King Dedede buys a cheap happiness pendant from a catalog, which supposedly makes whoever wears it happier. Kirby has also gotten a happiness pendant, and so King Dedede feels embarrassed that he has one. Things seem to work out for Kirby pretty well. However, for King Dedede, there is much bad luck. He is essentially depressed because of this. Eventually, Kirby decides he doesn't need his happiness pendant anymore and tries to teach King Dedede how to be happy, which obviously is more about your mindset, and doesn't totally succeed, but makes progress in cheering the king up. Chapter 11, Fight Off the Alien. This is another sort of alternate universe chapter in which King Dedede and Poppy Brothers Jr. are on a spaceship traveling through outer space when they happen upon a planet in the shape of Kirby. They land and discover an alien creature which resembles Kirby. They then discover a kind-shaped spaceship. King Dedede and Poppy Brothers Jr. run back to their ship and find that Kirby has begun eating all their companions, and Kirby then chases King Dedede around the spaceship, trying to eat him. Eventually he spits up the animal friends and all those people who are on the kind ship, and they have become like Kirby in that they are obsessed with food, and King Dedede is stuck to have this horrible fate to become one of the Kirby creatures on this alien planet. Strange one there. Chapter 12, Who's the Most Dangerous Man? We are introduced to the character Galbo in this chapter, who is a standard enemy in the Kirby series. And this fella likes to live on the edge. He likes to do extremely risky things, like break box cutters in half, I guess. So that gives Kirby the idea to also do some risky stuff. King Dedede tries to join in with eating curry udon while wearing white, which does not work out because his white shirt gets all covered in food. How tragic. Chapter 13, Popopo Rangers. This is a bit of a Power Rangers type deal in which Kirby and the animal friends are members of an elite squadron. King Dedede is their commander and Wispy Woods is the primary antagonist. I don't know if we've had too much Wispy Woods in the manga before, but good to get him here. So Kirby and friends assemble and fight off Wispy Woods. In the end, the team goes into a special formation in order to defeat Wispy Woods. Chapter 14, My hammer is my friend. King Dedede in this chapter is a baby who is very attached to his hammer. He considers it his only friend. Poppy Brothers Jr. attempts to befriend him, and they go into the forest and are attacked by a man-eating plant who King Dedede dispatches by using his hammer. King Dedede then wakes up, and it turns out the previous parts of the chapter had been a dream. Kirby has challenged him to yet another battle, and the king decides to break out the old hammer from his closet and use that for good luck in his battle. And that's the end of the chapters, and we get a author note at the end, as usual. And apparently, Kirby Manga Mania Volume 7 is also coming soon, which is pretty neat. I guess this series is just continuing on for at least a little while longer, which is pretty cool. So I had fun with this one. It's a good addition to the collection, and worthwhile if you have the others in the series and are looking for more. Yeah, like I've said in previous videos, we're definitely in a bit of a dry spell for the Kirby series, which I'm totally fine with. I think it's healthy to have breaks between games. So in the meantime, we have stuff like Kirby Manga Mania, and there's more Kirby Nanoblocks coming soon. Even though we're currently between games, there are still things happening with the series, which is cool. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Haha.